Hey all, Heretic here, and today in the Battlegrounds, we're going to be talking about pirates, specifically APM Pirates. And this could theoretically just turn into a menagerie build, but pirates are going to be the main theme that we're going to build upon, and then you can diverge wherever you want as we go through all the different parts of this build. Let's just jump right into it. Now, let's start with the primary building blocks of this build. Heretic, when am I playing this build? And well, there's some really high-end pieces for this build that might make you wait a little bit. This isn't the kind of build early in the game, like turn 5, 6, you're like, I'm playing APM Pirates. Please don't, unless you're in my lobby, because you're going to lose if you try that early to commit to it. Wait till you have some of these other pieces, not just one or two, or the fantasy of this build. So probably one of the first pieces you're going to stumble across for this build, which is just good for your board, is Timecap'n Hooktail. Now, pirates are a lot about cycling cards and playing spells, in this case bounties. So because of that, Timecap'n Hooktail is a massive piece to your build. You're going to be casting a lot of spells, and as you get deeper into this build, you'll see we're going to be buffing spells a lot. So having this baseline attack buff plus all the things you're going to add to it is just an accumulative buff that is going to make your board far more powerful. So definitely one of the first minions you're going to find that makes you want to play this build. Next, since we already mentioned we're going to be casting a lot of bounty spells, we're going to want Proud Privateer. At tier 5, making your bounties cast twice is amazing. Do not waste your time and put 2 on your board. If you get a second one, it makes sense to play it if you need it because it's an 8/8, but it could be tough because you get in a weird situation where you have 2 of these on your board because you needed the tempo, but now you've got to cut something, and you certainly don't want to cut a Proud Privateer because you want to triple this minion, but they don't do anything if you put 2 of them on the board. It doesn't make them cast an extra time until you triple them. So make sure if you have to play this on the board, there's something else you could cut in case you get to that awkward stage where you're like, well, I need to play something more effective because the second one's not doing anything, but if I give up the triple for that, I throw the game. Finally, of the main pieces, I'm going to say Sky Admiral Rogers. Obviously, whenever you cast 9 gold, getting a bounty synergizes with the other 2 minions we just mentioned. You're going to get more and more bounties going forward. So this is definitely the final piece of the build that cements you completely into it, and now you can just run wild and have fun. Next, we're going to talk about the spells that we're going to be using. Now, I know typically this is where I go into the other minions, but we need to talk bounties, because bounties are really what's going to make this build go insane. And really, this is the build. All the minions are just to give you more bounties and make your bounties cast extra time. Your MVP is the thing that's never going to be on the board. It's the bounties that are buffing your board. Now, there's going to be 5 different bounties you're going to be playing with. You haven't dealt with them much. They don't sound like a whole lot to start, but as you buff spells, they get far more effective. So friendly bounty, giving you a random minion, fantastic. Healthy bounty, giving 3 friendly minions plus 4 health, really important in the early game, gets less important in the late game, but as you buff spells, gets more valuable, at least in the long run, because you're going to cast so much of it. Hostile bounty, giving your friendly minions plus 4 attack, 3 of them, once again, same idea, a lot of tempo, falls off, but as you buff it, gets more effective. Selfish bounty is going to give your leftmost minion +6/+6. This one is important. It used to be a targeted spell, now it is only going to hit the leftmost minion, so you need to make sure when you go to cast these, you have something you want to buff in that position. Do not buff your cycle card, just your throwaway card, because you will throw away all those stats and suffer for it. Wealthy bounty, hey, you gain 2 gold. This one's always worth casting if you have a Timecap'n Hooktail, even if you buff nothing, because you're at least buffing your board's attack and cycling cards, which is typically pretty good for you. And finally, even though it's not a bounty, this spell is important, and that is Channel the Devour. What you're going to find is that at some point during this game, you're going to be transitioning from some minions that have absorbed a lot of buffs that you don't really want to throw those stats away. You're like, I don't want to just sell it. So if you could find a Channel the Devour and you can get that buff, it is a huge deal. Yeah, it's going to hit a random minion on your board, but it's going to save you so much value. So I always advise to buy this and try to always have one in hand just for those pivotal moments when you don't care anymore. When it's turn 13, your Timecap'n Hooktail's got like 1,200 stats. And I need Scam, I need a Leroy, I need Venom. Well, spit that Timecap'n onto one of your other pirates and then play that Scam so you can win the game. It'll give you more of a technical advantage over your opponents, and it's worth holding on to. I know it's 4 gold, I know it's expensive, but as you get deeper into this build, you're essentially going to be infinite, so don't worry about the gold. Try to find room to hang on to one of these channels for those later technical plays to counter your opponent. Now it's time for those optional minions, those things that'll make our board actually a little better. Yeah, we've got the main pieces, but they need more minions. I mean, you could just have a board full of those main minions, gold, multiple copies, and good luck if you do. Nothing wrong with hitting that, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best form. Sometimes a board of all gold minions is great when they're 1 minion, and other times they're a little redundant. Don't waste your time on redundant minions. Get yourself some good tech minions. We're going to start with simple things. We're going to start with things like Bigwig Bandit. This one you're going to find early. You might cut later game. This is going to be where you want to use Channel of the Devourer to take out this minion because it's probably going to be like a 300, 500. Spin it onto one of your other minions, and now you've got that coveted spot on your board to actually do more with. But before that, it's cranking out bounties, and if you golden it, you might just end up keeping it for your entire game. Blade Collector. It's got an attack that hits multiple targets. You can buff targeted minions by putting in the leftmost slot extra stats in addition to all those random stats you're going to be throwing around. Blade Collector is a massive value for you. Cleaves right now are kind of not huge. You don't see a lot of cleaves on people's boards. That means if you can get a Blade Collector buffed to a decent degree, a lot of people, especially at lower MMR, I'm talking to you, 6K and lower, you're going to start seeing people just not play around it. I have seen many people completely oblivious to the fact that cleaves exist, and I'm just like, okay, murder their board, have fun. Yeah, as you get higher ranks, people are going to be ready for it. They're going to have that Leroy next to their taunt, or they're going to taunt their Leroy, but there's not much you can do about those except open up with a bumping minion and hopefully dodge the Leroy. But either way, Blade Collector's killing multiple minions, so it's not a bad thing. Brand Bronzebeard. We have a number of Battlecry minions that are going to give us buffs as pirates. They're going to give us bounties. We have lots of random neutral stuff that we can be cycling. The more gold we spend in some cases, the more bounties we're going to generate. So Brand Bronzebeard can be a beautiful fit if you can fit them on the board. Nala the Redeemer. Hey, you're casting tons of bounties. Well, if you're going for more of a menagerie build with this, run the Nala out there, have all these different tribes, and have the Nala buffing your board like crazy. Yeah, you're going to have 2 or 3 pirates on the board, so it might not be perfect, but it's still going to be pretty damn good because you're throwing so many buffs out there. Typically, I like to cut Nala in the later game, but if you get enough value out of it, don't worry about it. Just let Nala do their thing. Tranquil Meditative is huge for this board. It doesn't even have to stay on this board. You could just have it on there for a couple turns. Maybe keep this as a cycle card, right? You just buy it, play it, sell it. If you don't want to find the space for it, the fact that it's giving all of your bounties +2 health is huge and really does make them incredibly effective. So Tranquil Meditative, at least good as a cycle card, if not a permanent space on your board. Now up at tier 6, we're definitely leaning even harder into the menagerie if we're looking at her optional cards. Things like Fellfire Conjurer are going to be buffing your Tavern Spells every turn +1/+1. I definitely would not put a Drakari Enchanter on this board unless it's just for a cycle for 1 turn, but there's usually better things you can do. But Fellfire can make those Tavern Spells a little better. Once again, this doesn't have to be a permanent card on your board. Maybe it's only there for a turn or 2 because you're busy cycling and you can end on it. That 1/1 buff does make a difference. So definitely consider Fellfire, at least for a little while. Fireforged Evoker can work in this board if you splash in a bunch of dragons like Fellfire Conjurer. I know a lot of people are big proponents of this. I myself find it to be more of a trap, especially at lower MMR, because there's so many pieces and parts you need to get on the board to make this function correctly and work with pirates. It's definitely a full-on menagerie build at that point. And I really don't love Fireforged, but I mention it as an option because if you do have the red cards, it can fly. I just feel like this is more of another build than this particular build. I mention it to be completionist. Sundered Matriarch could also be a great fit for your board, especially if found early. You're going to be casting a lot of Tavern Spells, and this is going to give you health for every single one of them. It doesn't have to stay on your board forever. It can just be there for a little while, or it could be there to the end of the game. Either way, it's going to give you the health to survive most hits. Now let's talk about the cards we're going to be cycling a lot in this build. And I'm sorry, one of my absolute favorite cards in the game, not only for this build, just period, because it's good for quest completion, just cycling, it feels good, is the Free Dealing Gambler. Do not miss on this card. if you start playing any cards that want you to spend gold, or your hero power requires you to cycle minions or spend gold, Free Dealing Gambler is free value. Spend 3 gold to get it, you sell it, and you get 3 gold right back. You don't have to use it right away. You could set it up for better combo turns later. Maybe you just want to skip a tier and still buy a minion. This thing is going to allow you to do that stuff. So Free Dealing Gambler is a must for basically every build when it's in, if it isn't just useful at all, and it almost always is. Sholfin Mystic. If you are playing a build where you cast a lot of Tavern Spells, which this does, Sholfin Mystic, buy one, sell one if you can afford it, buff those spells permanently 1/1. If you even get a tiny inkling you are playing this build, cycle the Sholfins. It's worth it, because that value gets so much better as the game goes on and you start casting 5, 6, 10 more of these spells a turn. Those Sholfin buffs will really start to add up. Lovesick Bowdis, especially if you're running a brand, why not cycle this thing? For every gold you spent, add health to a minion, especially in the early game. That really can win you some early fights. You put that buff on the big wig bandit and all of a sudden this thing's hitting 2, 3 times the combat. Big value. Definitely cycle these. Elite Navigator. This one is really useful. You have anything below tier 4 that's a pirate, make it gold. Sell it. Maybe if you're trying to set up a triple, not make something gold because you're going to get more value out of the 6. But at the same time, free gold is usually pretty good, especially on like a big wig bandit, something along those lines. I definitely like this card. Shipwrecked Rascal. Maybe you don't need it. Maybe you've already got enough generation, but just cycle this thing out there. Get yourself a couple battle cries or death rattles and then get rid of it. Doesn't have to stay on your board, just gives you value. Now, people are always asking me, but what heroes do I play with this build? And right off the bat, I just want to tell you, you're not playing this build when you pick a hero. If it's turn 1 and you're like, oh, I picked this hero, I am Pirates, congratulations, you're probably going to finish 6th through 8th, unless you get lucky. Of course, you can be like, well, you know, I decided on turn 1 I was going to be this build and it worked great for me, Heretic, and I'll go, I'm happy for you. That doesn't make it a good idea to do. These heroes are good for this build, but don't say, I am definitely playing this build. Say, ooh, this is a good option for me if I take this hero. Now, I first want to lead with a couple trap heroes. First, Dancing Daryl. Dancing Daryl feels like it would be great, right? Every time I play a minion, it's going to buff it. And then when I sell it, it's going to give minion stats. And it is great initially. But as you get deeper into that APM game, you start cycling a lot of minions, that hesitation in the animation that has to play makes this hero horrible. If you get a full APM game going, you are losing a bunch of value by trying to cycle with this thing. Once again, you're not planning on playing APM, I hope, when you take this hero. But if you end up playing it, it does hurt you in the long run, which is unfortunate, but you know, sometimes it just happens. Captain Hogger, I love and hate. Why? Because immediately he's breaking my first rule. I want to play Pirates on turn 1 if I'm playing Hogger, but you don't ever want to be saying I'm playing X on turn 1. That's how you lose. That thinking, that narrow tunnel vision is why you're going to lose, because you're like, well, I got Hogger, I have to be Pirates. And you're right, because if you don't, you literally don't have a hero power, and that sucks. So you really do want to play Pirates if you're playing Hogger, but then you have to play Pirates. Are there times where it can work? Yes, and when it works, it'll be glorious. The problem is it reinforces that bad habit of you of now going, oh, I can play Hogger again because I won that last game. Oh, but then I played Hogger and I didn't find any Pirates, so I lost. That's the issue. Those highlights are so high, you feel great and want to do them again. But then when you whiff, the low is so low, it feels bad. Think of Chenvala. Chenvala's the same way. You're like, oh, well, Chenvala's easy. I'll play Elementals. Your first 3 turns, you don't find any Elementals. You're like, shit. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to play Bran. I've gone turn 8 and not seen a battle cry in the shop playing Bran. Doesn't make Bran bad, but it certainly hurts. At least in the case of Bran, it's not tribe limitation, it's a mechanic limitation. So there's not much you can do if you're picking a battle cry and there's a ton of battle cry stuff in the shop. You just don't roll it. But if it's 1 tribe out of 5, the odds are a little better. You won't find what you want at least. Now, heroes that are actually good with this, Caterference is going to be, you buy 3 cards, you get an extra 1. Set yourself up for triples, makes quest completion easier. Caterference can be just great if you end up playing Pirates, and good anyways. And finally, probably my favorite hero to play this with is Trade Prince Gallywix. Come on, the guy who wants you to spend gold and then is going to reward you for spending gold. It's like, oh yeah, on turn 3, I cycled 6 cards that were all kind of trash. And you can do that. Next turn, you're at +6 gold. You're just like, bye lobby. Yeah, you're gonna knock me down pretty quick. I'm gonna take a lot of damage, but when I go off, I go off. Trade Prince Gallywix can massively win with Pirates, easily going infinite. Once you get past turn 8, if you're in a strong position with Trade Prince, you basically have the run of the lobby. Cycle cards, and the only thing really stopping you is bad luck. You know, you roll those shops and you just can't get anything to work with, crap. But with Trade Prince, at least you can just keep cycling garbage minions that give you extra minions, so the next turn, if you don't find anything good, you'll have that much more gold to make it work. Let's talk quest rewards that can be good for this build also. Now, mind you, I don't want you picking these quest rewards saying you're going to be playing pirates, but you still can look at them as an option in the lobby, and they're good for other things, but they're also really good for this pirate build. We're gonna start with Blood-Soaked Tome. It's easy. You get minions for 2 gold, which means any card that generates extra cards is essentially free. So cycle like crazy, have fun. Every patient scout you see, cycle it. Free dealing gamblers are a profit with this one. Go completely nuts and enjoy yourself. Blood-Soaked Tome, probably one of the best if you end up playing this build. Perpetual Incantation. Now, depending on how this quest is completed, and it's an infinite completion, can really affect the value of this. But if it's something simple like, I don't know, buy 5 minions or destroy 10 enemy minions and undead are in the lobby, have fun. You're gonna buff up your spells, and then when you get going, you are gonna have some insane value out of them. So Perpetual Incantation, a must. Pilfered Lamps. You only need 2 copies of a minion to make it golden. You're going to be cycling cards nonstop. You're going to be getting triples that you don't even know. Like, you're going to be cycling cards. You're going to be generating random pirates. And all of a sudden, you're going to be tripling the random pirates you generate because you have so many copies of them. Definitely a great one. And finally, Temporal Tampering. We're casting nothing but Tavern Spells. If our Tavern Spells cast an extra time, you're infinite that much faster. None of these quest rewards are typically easy to complete, except maybe Perpetual Incantation. The reason for that is you have to complete it a number of times, so it needs to be semi-easy to complete. But any of these that you can complete with this particular build can really emphasize the build's effect and make it that much better. Now, I'm going to throw up some board examples here so you can see some ideas of how pirate boards might look. But that being said, there are so many possibilities with this build and so many different directions you can go with. You definitely want to not think of anything set in stone. Find the minions you can, make them work, and get some big wins. Thanks for watching all. That's it. That's Pirates. That's my APM guide. I hope you enjoyed this. We've got the new streaming schedule going now where I am essentially, what I think is going to happen going forward is Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. till 5 p.m. Eastern time. And then weekends are a question mark. My wife's already like, hey, we're going to spend too much time together now, but I want our weekends open. So basically, you're always going to see me Monday to Friday, probably playing Hearthstone 12 to 5. And on the weekends, probably playing Hearthstone, but also doing whatever the hell I want when I want. So if you see me out on the weekends, just come say hi, hang out. We're just going to be playing games, whatever they might be. Probably Hearthstone, but sometimes something else. I'm already thinking about something else. Thanks for watching all. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned a few things. I hope to see you in the Battlegrounds. Until then, later. Now the issue is, oh, I have to have a bunch of... Freya!